And good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Captain Lou Extravaganza. We are live here on 12 Ounce Sports and the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube, June the 5th, 2024, the summer. Well, I guess it's not officially summer, although it feels like it here in Michigan. It's underway, and that means we are wrapping up the spring playoffs with the Stanley Cup Finals and the NBA Finals. Baseball's in full swing. Sports is definitely a 12-month-a-year proposition, and it's one of my favorite times of the year with the Stanley Cup Final starting up soon. And shortly here, momentarily, we'll be joined by an old friend of the show, Todd Corder. But first, I want to remind everybody that tonight's show, as always, is brought to you by tickets.12ouncesports.com. You want to go to the Stanley Cup Finals, make sure you check out tickets.12ouncesports.com. If you're going to Edmonton, you might want to make sure that you bring your wallet with you. Some of those ticket prices are crazy, but I'm sure they're that way in Florida. Or if you want to go to a baseball game, whatever, that's tickets.12ouncesports.com. And, of course, we're brought to you by Javi Coffee. If you like instant coffee or coffee in general, go to javicoffee.com. They've got 6 wonderful flavors. You can drink it hot or cold. And when you go there, use the promo code Captain Lou for 15% off of your purchase. All right, without any further ado, let's bring in, as I mentioned, our special guest, longtime friend of the show, contributor as well, Todd Corder. Todd, how are you? Welcome back. How are you, my friend?
Oh, I'm great, and thank you for having me as always. Looking forward to doing the show. You know, you're having me talk. I'll follow a tough act in Randy Cross, who lives here in Metro Atlanta. And for those that know who Randy Cross, a 3-time Super Bowl champion with the San Francisco 49ers, he just lives a couple of suburbs away from me.
Yeah. It was a great conversation. You can catch that again on our new show that we do, Captain Lou's Championship Years in Sports History. And he had some fun tidbits, and catch that on our YouTube channel, and it'll be available tomorrow on Apple Podcast as well. Todd, we mentioned it at the top. It is a time that we both enjoy, you and I. It's Stanley Cup Final time. It starts Saturday, Game 1, 8 o'clock in Florida, the Panthers and the Oilers. I got to tell you, this has been a great Stanley Cup playoff, some really, really exciting conference finals.
Oh, no kidding. I thought the Rangers were going to beat the Panthers in 7. That I expected the series to go the distance, but Florida's defense to me was the difference. Yeah. They were able to shut down the New York Rangers special teams, most certainly their power play. And they had stellar goaltending from Bobrovsky, and this Florida team, well, as you know, last year they were the 8th seed, had a ton of injuries, upset Boston in round 1, that record-setting point team from a year ago, got all the way to the finals, and then lost to the Las Vegas club. And here they said they will be back this year, and here they are. And they're led by Keith Tkachuk, who to me is probably the toughest player in the NHL. He is a guy that, you know, he'll tell it like it is. But, you know, last year he was so tough, he had to have his brother Brady get him out of bed after a pregame nap before Game 4. He had suffered a broken sternum in the finals, and he still played. Now, that's a hockey player.
It sure is. They don't get poked in the eye and have to go on the 10-day DL. That's for sure. You know, you brought up a good point with their defense against the Rangers, and I thought they out-muscled them. And, you know, I think they're going to need that against this Edmonton team. On paper, I think Florida is a little deeper than Edmonton. Edmonton's got we all know about Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. Nugent Hopkins has played well, but I just think overall the depth of Florida might be just a little more than Edmonton.
I'll tell you what, any team that's coached by Chris Knobloch, look out. The New York Rangers all know about his stellar minor career. Wherever he's gone, even at the junior level, he won a ton of hockey games. He takes over, not very many games into the season. Edmonton fired their head coach. I think it was 12 games in, he took over. And the job that Chris Knobloch has done, to me, is second to none. It reminds me of when the St. Louis Blues came out of nowhere in, 19 and won it all, won the cup in 19, won the whole thing when they made a coaching change with Craig Berube in the middle of the season.
Yeah, it's what's going to be very interesting for me, Todd, in this matchup. I love the play of Alexander Barkov too for the Panthers. Tkachuk is there. Obviously, you got Bobrovsky, but I got to tell you, in my opinion, if Florida does pull this out, I think right now Barkov's the leading candidate for the Conn Smythe.
Yeah, probably so. There's no question about it. I mean, you mentioned it. Florida's really deep. I mean, Sam Bennett has been spectacular in these playoffs. Carter Verhaeghe, when the game's on the line, you can count on him to put it in the net. This is a team that doesn't allow a lot of shots on goal and takes 30-something shots at the opponent's goal. And the playoffs, their defense is so disciplined. They're so good in the corners. They don't make mistakes, a lot of mistakes in the neutral zone. They don't beat themselves. And they do two things very well. Keep you away from the center of the ice, and they're allowed to get in front of your goaltender and put a lot of traffic of it in front of it and put a lot of pucks on the net. And I tell you, Igor Shesterkin for the was terrific last series. And you know what? He's still, despite his great goaltending for the Rangers, Florida still won.
Yeah, it was a great series. It was fun to watch in the Eastern Conference Finals. And, on the Western Conference Finals, Todd, it's amazing. And the first thing that came to my mind was in Game 5, after the game, we all saw the Peter DeBoer interview, the post game, where he said the team, he was asked if the team came out flat. And it looked like the last 5 periods of that series, Dallas, they looked like they were mentally, they got under their skin. I don't know if they got under their skin, but it was a different team. It looked like Edmonton had them mentally, and it showed in Game 6, obviously with that Connor McDavid goal, but that still was one heck of a series. But boy, when you've got a generational talent like McDavid that you got to go up against, it's going to be fun for us to watch and a headache for Paul Maurice.
Oh, no question. And Tkachuk, Sam Bennett, I mean, they have a lot of Alberta history.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is, these guys are going home for the Panthers. And so it'll be interesting to see how they play. And Edmonton hasn't been in the finals since 2006. They haven't won the cup since the Gretzky-Messier days when they were definitely a dynasty. And, it's going to be packed. It is going to be big time packed in Edmonton. The tickets you mentioned, they're outrageous. and then when, of course, they're on the road, the entire downtown area is full of people because this is going to be a high ratings in Canada because we haven't had a Canadian team in the finals since Montreal in 20.
Yeah.
And that was the COVID year. So they couldn't even have the finals in Montreal. They had to have them in a neutral location. So this is a totally different thing for the folks in Canada. They're going to get ready to enjoy hockey in person.
Yeah, it's good. That's going to be a sight to behold. That would be fun to be there in Edmonton watching it in, right downtown on Saturday night. Want to say hi to Wayne Memphis Mojo checking in from Memphis, Tennessee. And, of course, your crew checking in, getting ready for your show later on tonight. The ATL Prime Sports crew, thank you for checking in with us here tonight. So one of the things that stands out too, Todd, in the Stanley Cup playoff season, if you will, has been the special teams of Edmonton, not only with the power play. I think they're clicking at about 37% or some ungodly amount. but their penalty kill has been, it's been perfect the last, 28 straight penalty kills.
Incredible.
Isn't that something? I mean, those are legendary numbers. And, you got a goaltender like Skinner, who was amazing how he got replaced by a Detroit cast-off in Picard in the Vancouver series. And now Skinner's like he's found his groove. And so I'm really excited to see how he's going to match up against this Florida team. They're going to muscle him around the net.
Oh, there's no question they're going to get traffic in front of the net. You mentioned Skinner's performance. He was really best this postseason against the Stars. In the final, he was 4-2 with a 1.91 goals against average, over 90% save percentage, over 92%. He stopped 142 of 154 shots on goal. I thought he was the difference maker in the series for Edmonton, but Dallas to me seemed a step slow as that series went on. And I thought it was going to go 7 because Dallas has played extremely well in the playoffs on the road, and they struggled at home, and they couldn't get game 6 in Edmonton's barn, and that's all she wrote. You mentioned the you mentioned you mentioned the teams, the special teams, as Keith Jackson would say, special teams, special teams, special teams. And your goalie, as at the end of each special teams, once they get through the defense, your goalie's there. And the goalies are so huge. You get a hot goaltender no matter what series, if it's an 8 seed or a 1 seed, if your goalie is hot, the 1 seed can go down. And these goaltenders between Bobrovsky and Skinner, they're the final defense once you get past the defense. And these teams staying on the box is going to be critical. Whose special teams can come through? The PK and the PP ultimately, to me, will decide the series. And also which team can get traffic in front of the net and also doesn't turn the puck over in the neutral zone. I like Florida to win this, but I see it going 6 or 7.
That's funny is I don't want to take anything away from Connor McDavid's goal in Game 6. That was a thing of beauty. No. That's something that you will, that'll be played forever. It's one of those highlight reel plays that is a generational play. But I go back to Dallas. They didn't put a body on him in Game 6.
No.
And I was shocked by that. And again, it kind of looked like they were defeated. So, but like you just mentioned a while ago, Florida's going to put a ton of traffic around the net, and they're going to put a ton of traffic, in front of their own net. They're going to get under the skin of Skinner, no pun intended. But I love how this series is going to match up. I hope for Edmonton, I want them to win because I want Kenny Holland to get another Stanley Cup. I think, what he did for Detroit was phenomenal. And I think he got a bum rap towards the end. It's obviously, when you win, you want to keep winning and you pay the ultimate price, salary cap, hell, whatever. But I also like Paul Maurice. I'd like to see him get one. So my pick, Here's my pick, Todd. I'm going to go with, I picked it at the beginning of the series, at the beginning of the playoffs. Give me Florida in 7.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's going to go 6 or 7. You mentioned it, Paul Maurice going back, hoping for the third charm. As you know, he brought the Hurricanes to the Cup Final in 2, lost in 5 to our Red Wings, got back last year, lost in 5 to Vegas. But I tell you what, the X factor to me in this series, no question about it, for Edmonton is Connor McDavid. I mean, look at the season he had. He had 100 assists this season and can become the second player in NHL history to win the Cup after reaching the century mark in the regular season. You guessed it, joining Wade Gretzky, who did it 4 times and is Oilers captain, 84, 85, 87, 88. I tell you what, I don't see a team winning it 4 times in 5 years ever again, like the Islanders and Oilers. To me, are the Red Wings had a nice run. in the 90s and in parts of 2000, but they didn't have that run, even though they did win it 4 times.
Yeah.
It was more spread out. The Blackhawks recently won it 3 times. That was a little spread out, but I just don't see a team ever winning it 4 times in 5 years again.
No, it's pretty tough. That's for sure. And we're going to take a quick break. But as we go to break, a reminder that this is the 5th straight year that a Florida team is going to the Stanley Cup Finals. It's crazy. We'll be right back with We'll be right back with our special guest Todd Corder. We're going to put the puck in the net, if you will, and we're going to get the baseball bats out. We're going to talk a little Major League Baseball and the Tigers. Stick around. You're watching the Captain Lou Extravaganza live on 12 Ounce Sports and the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube.
Do you need tickets? We have you covered. We have soccer from anywhere in the world. Any venue from any sports. That means we have college and professional football. We have baseball at every level. We have every Power 5 matchup. Remember, costumes and paints are optional. You want to see Broadway? We have them too. We have every concert from every artist. We have you covered at tickets.12ouncesports.com. Tickets for less.
Indeed, we do have tickets for less. That's tickets.12ouncesports.com. Welcome back to the Captain Lou Extravaganza here on 12 Ounce Sports and the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube. Remember, you can watch anything that you may have missed. This program will be downloaded as soon as the game is, or as soon as the show is over, on our YouTube channels, which are on 12 Ounce Sports and the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube. Joined, as I mentioned, by Todd Corder from ATL Prime Sports. He's got his own show coming up here in about an hour or so, and he's very gracious with his time here tonight, or coming up at the top of the hour, rather. And so we'll keep him for about another 15 minutes. Todd, our Tigers, much to the chagrin of Memphis Mojo Wayne, they got a chance to go for the sweep tonight against the Texas Rangers, the defending World Series champs. Tigers, Midland, right? They're game over 500. I didn't see their pitching being this strong, but I didn't see their hitting being this weak this year.
Well, it's interesting. I actually saw the pitching to be strong.
Okay.
I really did. I didn't expect. I was hoping Flannery John would come back to his own. Jack would come back to his own self. He really had some good seasons for the St. Louis Cardinals, and he's pitched really well for Detroit this year. You look at the starters, Struble, he's trying to win a Cy Young. His ERA is under 2.
Yep.
Flannery's right there at just over 3. Olsen's at 2.5. This is a team that is pitching like a contender. They really are. They're getting good work from the bullpen. The team's ERA is 3.74. That's good enough to go deep in the playoffs. It really is. The pitching has been great. It's been really good. Foley's been pretty good out of the pen. Matt Manning has given him some good innings. They've had some innings. Casey Mize has done well at times. This is a team that's young, really young. Shelby Miller gave him some good work before he got hurt. This is a team that can pitch. They're not the Yankees. They don't have the Yankees rotation, but their pitching is good enough to contend. They're what have they given up? I think they've only their 10th. Let's see, they're 11th in runs allowed in Major League Baseball, but the offense has to get better. They're 10th in runs scored in the American League, tied for 20th overall. And when I look at the Detroit offense, runners in scoring position has been poor. Yeah. But lately, the Tigers have played well. They've won, 7 of their last 10?
Yeah.
So, they're only 2.5 behind the wild card. So, from that standpoint, but hitting the baseball, who can you look at and say you're not disappointing? I mean, I know Riley Green has 11 home runs, but he's only hitting 250. Torkelson's down in the minors.
Yeah.
It's really disappointing. But Matt Vierling has been a real surprise for Detroit. Colton Keith is getting better. He was horrendous at the beginning of the season. Looked lost at the plate, and now he seems better. Javier Baez, look, you're going to get him around 200. He's going to play defense. He's lost at the plate. The kid Perez had a real hot start, still hitting around 250. What hurts Detroit to me is not Kerry Carpenter not in the lineup.
Yeah.
That is going to hurt Detroit. He probably has been their best hitter this year, which tells you why they're struggling overall. Kerry Carpenter's a good player, but let's face it, the Yankees batting order, he'd be batting somewhere to the middle to the lower part of the order.
Well, the Tigers, like we mentioned, you mentioned it, they're 2.5 out of the wild card. Cleveland's having a hell of a year. I thought they'd be okay, but I never thought they'd be this good. And, of course, you got the Yankees and the Phillies right there. Wayne wants to know, Todd, I don't think this is going to happen. Can St. Louis or San Francisco move to the lead of their divisions before August? No way.
St. Louis and San Francisco?
San Francisco's off to such a horrid start. I don't see that. St. Louis, maybe. You can never count the Redbirds out.
They just don't. This is not a typical St. Louis team. I don't see it. I tell you what, Milwaukee's the team to beat in that division. But I'll tell you who's getting hot. Two teams you're going to have to look out for, Cincinnati and Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
The Pirates have really good pitching. If they can stay healthy for the lineup with O'Neill Cruz and Brian Reynolds and company, Pittsburgh could make a run at the division potentially, and Cincinnati's won 7 of their last 10. They've been decimated by injuries. They're starting to get some of their players back. I can see the Reds make a push. The Cubs are well managed by Council, as you know, and Council's old team, Milwaukee's 5.5 up on them. But I don't see the Giants contending, and who did he say? The Cardinals? Well, the Cardinals would have a better chance, but the Giants, I don't see them passing the Padres. I see no one catching the Dodgers.
No, not in that division.
And I see no one catching the Phillies. I don't think Atlanta's going to catch the Phillies this year, but for the Braves, they're really better off to let the Phillies have the division and just get into the wild card and let Philadelphia sit out a week or so and let them become hot. Because I think baseball, Lou, that these teams that are winning the divisions that have to sit out a week to play, I think they're at a major disadvantage, and Major League Baseball needs to do something about that. Only the Houston Astros are the ones who have solved that riddle.
Well, I can't argue with you. And to Wayne's defense, at the beginning of the year, I did a baseball special, and I said that San Francisco was going to be the team to watch. So I took some stock. I thought they made a couple of good signings, but obviously they've struggled. And when you've got the Dodgers, who I call this generation's version of the 90s Atlanta Braves, who won all those divisions, the Dodgers got to prove to me that they can win a World Series in a year besides the bubble year, But real quick, the Phillies, and I didn't see the Phillies being this good. I thought they'd be good, but I didn't think they'd be this good. And the Yankees are the Yankees. They got the best team money can buy, Todd. But,
well, the Dodgers have the best team money can buy right
well, they're
now.
both right. Okay, the Yankees are right there. Show me that they can get into the World Series, and before I believe all the hype with the Yankees,
well, the Mets have the highest payroll.
Isn't that insane?
You look, a lot of just because you have a high payroll doesn't mean you're going to win. I mean, the Tampa Bay Rays have figured out a lot of years. I know they're struggling around 500. They didn't have a gigantic payroll. The Oakland A's with Billy Ball with Billy being there for a while, they've fallen off since being left. And you don't look how many years the Mets have had high payroll teams and they haven't contended. Same with the Cubs.
Yeah.
So.
That's crazy.
It's what you do. It's what you do with a payroll. And I agree with you. I think Philadelphia and New York are the best teams right now, but it's early.
Oh, yeah.
We're in early June. I mean, the Dodgers are going to be a tough out. The Dodgers haven't won Their last 162 game season winning the World Series was who, the Michigander Kirk Gibson, hitting the home run, and their 81 series was a strike shortened season.
36 years ago. Oh my gosh,
right?
Man.
We're old.
Well, it's like when we started that new podcast that I do, my first broadcast was with Fred Human, and we talked about the 84 Tigers. It's been 40 years. My gosh, where has the time gone? All right. I know. All right, Todd. I know this one. I saw one of your comments on X, and I had to bring it up. I want to get you for about another 8 minutes. It's Jim Leyland. He's getting his number retired. You and I have gone back and forth. We've had a lot of fun banter back and forth over the years talking about, how great of a manager, he may be or may not be, but he's going to get his number retired this year by the Tigers at Comerica Park. And, give me, all right, you're stumping for Jim Leyland. Give me a couple of reasons or one good reason why they are doing the right thing by retiring his number at Comerica Park.
If he had won a World Series, you could have arguably said it was the best Tigers 8 seasons in the club history, because Leyland managed the Tigers to 2 World Series appearances, 4 playoff appearances in 8 seasons. I mean, that would, if one of those 2 had been a World Series championship, you could arguably say that would be the best era of Tigers baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And that would include Sparky, even though he won in 84. He built him up from 79, and they had really good seasons up until 87. They made the play, but they only made the playoffs twice. Of course, it was harder to make it back then, no question. You had half the amount of teams that because when Jimmy was there, it was 6, and then it was 8. When Sparky was there, it was always 4. But, they had, in between seasons, that 87 club, they ran into a hot Twins team, and they should have won the series. They should have won the whole thing that year. They were as good as anybody, and they did not. And Detroit should have won it in 06. They were the best team in baseball.
Yeah.
They turned around and they literally threw that series away to St. Louis. The pitchers made an abundance of errors, or Leyland would have had another ring. I mean, everywhere Jim Leyland's gone, he's won. He won it all in Florida. He took the Pirates to the NLCS a couple of times. He's a winner. And, he goes in there and he does it his way. He's going to be inducted into the Pro Baseball Hall of Fame, which is well-deserved. I think the numbers speak for Jim Leyland.
Well, I honestly think that, in my own opinion, and this is just me, if he wouldn't have got elected into the Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, they wouldn't be doing this year. I think they're kind of doing
it.
I do. And my only thing is, okay, if you're going to give him his number retired at Comerica Park, then Mayo Smith has got to be up there with him.
Yeah, I said that too.
I mean,
Mayo Smith won the World Series in 68 and 67 and 69. They finished in second place. I think you should reward them both in Detroit lore.
They should, but I'm not going to deny Jim Leyland's success overall as a manager throughout his career. He did very well at Pittsburgh, like you mentioned. And, he just ran into some hot Braves teams in the playoffs. And then, back in the 90s. And, of course, the Tigers, I question the way he handled the pitching, in 12 and 13. But, you and I have gone back and forth on that. We could spend a half hour on that. But, we don't have, unfortunately, we don't have the time, because I want to switch gears with you real quick before we let you go. I want to go to the basketball court, and I want to bring this up with Caitlin Clark. I go back and forth on this. I'll give you my opinion. I'm not a fan of her antics. Obviously, she's one of the best, if not the best player. She's the best shooter ever to come out of women's college basketball, arguably one of the best college basketball, period. I don't like her antics. I thought she got away with a lot of crap at Iowa. And now now she's in with the big girls. And is she being bullied? Possibly. It's just, I guess overall, what really gets me, Todd, is it's a horrible look for the WNBA right now, and it's out of control. Something obviously needs to be done, but I just don't think she's not a saint in all this either. And I think she deserves maybe a little bit of the blame. That's my opinion.
Well, I haven't seen her do anything wrong in the WNBA. If you want to go back to some of the stuff she did in college where her father even said, hey, stop bitching about the refs and all that, and just play your basketball. She was a magnificent player in college. I was a fan of her. I mean, she could shoot it from anywhere on the court. And, she took Iowa to the national championship game 2 years in a row. And it wasn't exactly, she had some players around here that were good. But let me tell you, she carried the Hawkeyes to those back-to-back national championship appearances. And if it wasn't for her, that team would have never came close. I mean, she carried them on her back a lot of nights. And she's a great basketball player. And in college, and we all know that. Now we get to the WNBA, and what the players are doing to her is inexcusable. It's wrong. It's not professional basketball. The WNBA commissioner needs to step in, stop it now with suspension and fines. There's nothing wrong with playing clean, tough, hard-nosed basketball and making it difficult on Caitlin Clark, because she is a rookie, and that's what rookies are going to do, make her earn it. But some of this jealousy is coming from these players. Where it's coming from is she's the highest paid player in the league. I mean, she's making more than anybody in the league because of endorsements. She's going to make I think $10 million this year in endorsements, 10 to 20 million, and her WNBA salary is only $75,000.
Let me ask you this. Hate to interrupt you because we're up against it.
Sure.
Where is two things? Where is the commissioner in all this? You don't hear a damn word from him or her. I don't even know who the commissioner is. Number one. Number two, where were her teammates Saturday night when she got hip checked to the floor? If I was a teammate out on the floor, Kennedy would have got her ass kicked. I would have punched her right between the eyes. You defend your. It seems to me that her own teammates are jealous of her, and Caitlin Clark's she's got 4 technicals right now, Todd. So she gets 3 more. She's suspended, and I don't. And she was John with them throughout the game. Again, it doesn't deserve what she got. I get it, but answer me. You don't. I'm not putting it on you, but where's the commissioner in all this?
Where is Kathy Engelbert?
Yeah.
Nowhere.
Yeah.
Nowhere. None of the players are nowhere to stick up for her. I think there are teammates that are jealous of her.
Yeah.
Look, she's making the most money in the league, and she's probably under under a top 20 player in the league. She's probably around 15 to 18 as the player overall. So the players are jealous because she's making all this kind of money, but they shouldn't be at all. They should be happy because the ratings are an all-time high. Attendance is at an all-time high. Merchandise is being sold at a all-time high. This is like Bird and Magic coming into the NBA.
Wow.
Nobody got after Bird and Magic when they came in. Nobody was jealous of them. She's like the Larry Bird of this league. She's only going to get better. Is she going to be the best player in the league? I don't know, but she could definitely be top 5.
Well, her and Reese, or Magic and Bird, were not talking shit to other teammates like those two are, and they weren't doing the things. It's just a different time. And I always remember
Bird liked to talk.
Well, I know he talked, but you know what? It was it just, I don't know. There was just a different mindset back then, and I can always remember.
Sure, the players were tougher. They were much tougher.
And I can remember. I'll never forget this. Magic Johnson hit a shot to go into overtime, one of the first games they played for the Lakers, and he was jumping up and down, and Kareem grabbed him and told him to shut up and play.
Well, he also said, I remember when they won the game on a hook, one of his game winner. Kareem had won a game with his sky hook. It was early this season. Kareem's like, what do you do, man? We got 81 more of these to go.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I remember. But, it's
that was his rookie year. That was game 1 when Kareem won the game winner. But, Magic, as we all know what he did against Philadelphia.
Oh,
he played center. Kareem couldn't play. And and the NBA, The finals back that first Magic season when they won it all, it was tape delayed.
Oh, I remember.
We couldn't watch the finals live. The league was almost to fold. And really, WNBA, if it wasn't for the NBA, they wouldn't exist.
Oh, 100%. And it's still, it's amazing. You can go overseas, go over to these small countries and make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. And, it's just, something's just not right. All right, Todd, I know you got to get ready for your show. What you got coming up at the top of the hour? Where can we take a listen?
Well, it'll be on YouTube. If you go to, let's see, Wayne made a post here. You can get it on YouTube, ATL Prime Sports, youtube.com live RB, what is it, P4TO8W. I don't know. It's via YouTube. It'll be with ATL Prime Sports.
That's where there you go.
Episode number 164. Dave Cohen, the voice of the Georgia State Panthers, will join us. We'll talk a little bit of Caden Clark. We're going to talk about the NHL Finals. They're going to talk about the NBA Finals. They're going to talk about Ronald Acuna's injury. Boo-hoo. And, can we win it without Ronald Acuna? Let me see. You did in 21, and their biggest injury to me is Scott Strider, and it's not even close. And with Alex Anthopoulos, Atlanta's going to make they're going to make trades, and at the end of the year, they'll be one of the teams to beat, and all this freaking out will hopefully go away from these Atlanta fans because, my goodness, get the Kleenex. I'm not a Ronald Acuna fan. He ran his mouth last year along with Arcia when they played the Phillies, and they made him eat it. So, I'm sorry that Acuna got hurt, but like I said, boo-hoo. This team got dusted. The Phillies own them. They spanked them the last 2 years in a row, and if they play them again, I think they'll spank them a third time.
Todd, it's like I say, there's no nobility and humility anymore. The big mouths get the big money in professional sports. So,
right?
I'll never get used to it. Todd, thank you so much. You and I are old school when it comes to that.
In Texas tonight, you're going to watch the softball. I think that is some magnificent theater.
Oh, it is, and it's a best of three. I'll put it on. Unfortunately, I have to get up at 3:00 in the morning to go in for a safety meeting for my real job. So it's a once a month thing. So I'll put it on the TV and I'll doze off to it at about 9 o'clock. So I will be checking it out. The best of three. You're absolutely right. Todd,
Oklahoma's going for a four-peat. That's a magnificent achievement.
It is. And they feel slighted because they didn't get the number one seed. Texas got it. So they're going to use whatever they can to get that four-peat. All right, buddy, get ready for your show. Thanks as always for coming on. And we'll talk to you. We'll catch up with you real soon.
Take care. Thanks for having me.
All right. Todd Corder, the host of ATL Prime Sports, always gracious with his time. Check them out at the top of the hour on YouTube as well. All right. We're going to take a break. And when we come back, we'll finish up here tonight. We'll talk a little bit of NBA. They've got a finals that are coming up starting tomorrow, I believe. And they've also, the rich get richer. When it comes to their television contract, it sounds like it's going to be a doozy. You're watching the Captain Lou Extravaganza, and it's live right here on 12 Ounce Sports and the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube.
Do you need tickets? We have you covered. We have soccer from anywhere in the world. Any venue from any sports. That means we have college and professional football. We have baseball at every level. We have every Power 5 matchup. Remember, costumes and paints are optional. You want to see Broadway? We have them too. We have every concert from every artist. We have you covered at tickets.12ouncesports.com. Tickets for less.
Yes, indeed. We do have tickets for any kind of event that you want. That's tickets.12ouncesports.com. And, we've got the Major League Baseball, minor league baseball, you name it. We've got it right here on tickets.12ouncesports.com. Again, we are a ticket broker, so we don't charge some of those fees that you see on some of the other sites. That's tickets.12ouncesports.com. And also, we are brought to you tonight, as always, here on the Extravaganza by JaviCoffee.com. Javi Coffee, we're your answer for instant coffee. If you're a regular coffee drinker like I am, although I do like that the instant coffee, I drink the French vanilla. It all it takes is a couple of teaspoons, and it's you don't have the mess. You can drink it hot or cold. You've got regular, decaf, Irish mist, salted caramel, French vanilla, you name it. It's JaviCoffee.com. And when you go there and you go to checkout, use the promo code Captain Lou, all one word, and you'll get 15% off of your purchase. That is JaviCoffee.com. Thanks again to Todd Corder, the host of ATL Prime Sports, for taking time out to be with us tonight. And a lot going on in the world of sports. Great conversation talking about baseball. And, of course, the Stanley Cup Final matchup, Boston and Florida. Or, I'm sorry, Florida and Edmonton. I beg your pardon. Game 1, Saturday night, 8 o'clock on ABC here in the States and TSN up in Canada. It is going to be one heck of a series. Like I said, I've got Florida winning it in 7. I would love to see Edmonton win it for Kenny Holland to get his 5th Stanley Cup, whatever you want to call it. As loved what he did here in Detroit for us Red Wings fans, getting that 5th or getting the 4 cups. And, he got one in the Stanley Cup era, or the salary cap era rather. And so that's always been his rap. He wasn't able to do that. And with success comes, you got to pay the price, especially in a salary cap era. A lot of teams do that where they've got to start over. Just ask the Blackhawks. You get overpriced contracts to try to win that one more ring, one more cup. Now Steve Yzerman is getting back. They're close. I think Detroit's going to be a playoff team next year, and they'll get them back to glory. And like I said, 25 straight years of making the playoffs. Not too many teams can say that in any professional sport. It was worth the wait right now. 4 cups, 6 Stanley Cup final appearances in that span. I'll take it. I know the younger crowd who just started watching them or whatever didn't have to or weren't able to go through that 25-year run that we had. It's well worth it for me. I'll take it. And I'm rooting for Kenny Holland to get it. Like I said, I'm rooting for Paul Maurice. So it's kind of the best of both worlds for me in the Stanley Cup Finals. But my heart says Edmonton, but my head says Florida. I'm going to take the Panthers. I picked them to beat Edmonton right from the get-go, and I'm going to stick with it. Florida in 7, though. It's going to be one hell of a series. Can't wait for it to start. All right, the NBA Finals. They're starting tomorrow night in Boston. Game 1. Finally, they're on a 19-week drought at senior layoff. I think it's like 9 days before they started. TV rules it all. What TV says goes in most of the professional sports now. So game 1 is tomorrow night, Boston and Dallas. It should be a dandy as well. You've got, Doncic and Kyrie Irving leading the way. And you've got some interesting bench players for Dallas. And, of course, Boston with Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. I never, ever in my life would ever say I'd be rooting for anybody that's wearing a Boston Celtics uniform. Growing up, they were the evil empire in the NBA, of course, against the Pistons in the 80s with their knockdown, drag-out affairs with the LA Lakers and the Pistons and whatnot. But I'm rooting for Boston for one reason, and that's for Al Horford, the local kid here out of Grand Ledge, Michigan. He's looking for one more ring. He won a couple of championships with Florida back in 06 and 07 in college. Still knocking around in the NBA. I'd love for him to get a ring with the Boston Celtics. It's going to be a pretty good series. Boston has benefited. That's where we're going to have to wait and see, with a depleted Philadelphia team and then a depleted Indiana team swept them. I know a couple of those games were close, but they were able to sweep them. They've had a long layoff. They haven't exactly had to go through the landmines that maybe Dallas has had to go through, but it was amazing to me how easily they punked that Minnesota team that beat Denver. So I don't really know. It's both teams have had a relatively easy. Obviously, they had an easy conference final set up, as we mentioned, with Boston sweeping Indiana, and of course Dallas beating Minnesota in 5. But I'm going to go with my heart in this one, with Boston and Dallas in this final. Wasn't the final a lot of people expected? I think a lot of people expected Boston to be there. Dallas, not so much. I honestly thought it was going to be a Boston and Denver NBA finals, but nonetheless, Dallas is there. I'm going to go with Boston in 7. It's a coin flip, but I think home court advantage is going to be key. Winning in the Boston Garden or TD Garden, whatever you call it now. Give me the Celtics in 7. And again, like I said, I never in a million years would have thought that I would ever root for anybody on Boston. Couldn't, I respect the hell out of Larry Bird and Kevin McHale now and Robert Parrish. Well, maybe not so much Robert Parrish, but I respect the hell out of them now. Danny Ainge, I couldn't stand, obviously, as a Pistons fan, but gosh, that's 40 years ago already. Can you believe that? 35 years when the Pistons won the world championships. But anyways, I'm going to root for Al Horford to win. And it's some young-minded coaches, it's some young coaches, I should say. So it's going to be fun. It should be an interesting matchup going up with Boston and Dallas, starting the NBA Finals. Tomorrow's game 1, and then Sunday, I believe, is game 2. Who knows? They're going to stretch this out to August the way they're doing it. No, all kidding aside, they can't because of the Olympics, but if they had their way, they would do it for sure. Speaking of the NBA and money, it's been reported now the deal is pretty much done for the new NBA television contract. The numbers are mind-boggling. $76 million deal with NBC, ESPN, and Amazon. It's, we're looking at a new future, everybody, of the way we watch professional sports, and the NBA is just becoming like everybody else, just like the NFL. They're the top 2. Major League Baseball's doing it with games on Apple and whatnot. Now you've got the NFL with games on Peacock and Amazon and Netflix, and it's the days of terrestrial television are pretty much going to be gone by the wayside here in the next 5 to 10 years. It's absolutely amazing. Never would have thought I'd seen it, but hey, you got to roll with it, I guess. And they're going to show some of these NBA games on Peacock, and you're going to it's here. And when they're throwing this kind of loot around, it's hard to fathom. 76, not million, $76 billion. So you divide that over 30 teams, that means they're going to get, that's over $2 billion a team. That's like $2.5 billion. And, so the salary caps are going to go up. The $100 million a year player is not too far away. It's staggering. And I don't begrudge anybody. If you got somebody that's willing to pay that kind of money, then God bless them. It's just, you can sit here and whine and complain about these athletes making this amount of money. Well, at the very end, it's all the consumer. It's the demand of it. People are still paying. We talked about the Stanley Cup Final tickets, $1,300 for nosebleed seats in the Edmonton series, up for Game 3 in Edmonton. I paid $500 a piece to sit like 8 rows from the top in the third deck for the Lions playoff game against the Rams for me and my son. You got people like me that want to go watch them. And as long as people like me are willing to pay those stupid prices, they're going to be able to keep doing this. And you got the advertisers willing to shed the bucks out. It's just, you wonder where it stops, where it can stop, when the bottom is going to fall out, or you're going to hit bottom, whatever you want to call it. I don't know if you ever will. And so, it's like I said, you can complain about it, but it's, I don't ever see it changing. And the numbers are just going to keep going up, up, up. And it's just staggering. $76 billion. Wow. That's just absolutely amazing. But like I said, there's got to be a market for it out there. This is just the tip of the iceberg. The NFL will probably see this, and their next deal will probably be $100 billion. Is, is it right? Probably no. I don't think it is. It's just whatever. You can go on a soapbox all night long if you want, but people are paying it and it's popular, I guess. Obviously we don't talk a lot about the NBA here because it's, we focus mainly on the NHL and the NFL. Those are our bread and butter here on the Extravaganza. Todd Corder mentioned it starting tonight. An interesting watch. It is entertainment. Is the NCAA softball World Championship, or the World Series, if you will, the College World Series. Oklahoma and Texas starts up first of three. It's a best of three, I should say. And Oklahoma going for their fourth straight Women's College World Series championship. That'll be the first ever that someone's ever done it 4 straight. So some intrigue there. Texas has got the number 1 seed. So Oklahoma, they were a little pissed about that. So whatever, using that for motivation. And the Men's College World Series, their super regionals are this weekend. Got the NBA Finals and, of course, the Stanley Cup Finals starting on Saturday. So might be a little chilly where you're at weather-wise. Saturday night, check out Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals. And they got the Memorial Golf Tournament with the U.S. Open around the corner as well. So, all right, that's going to do it here tonight. It's been a fun show as always. A reminder of our brand new show, too, by the way, the Captain Lou's Championship Years in Sports History. Again, the concept of it is we pick a year each month where we kind of highlight the championship teams or players or whatever. We had some great interviews. 1984 was our first month. We spotlighted the Detroit Tigers 84 World Series run. We also spotlighted the Edmonton Oilers. Coincidentally, they're going for a Stanley Cup, obviously. Then we spotlighted the Brigham Young Cougars. And then yesterday we had a great interview with Randy Cross, the 3-time Pro Bowler, or a 3-time Super Bowl winner, multi-time Pro Bowler with the San Francisco 49ers. You can catch that on our YouTube channels, and that show is also available on Apple Podcasts, wherever you find your podcasts. So, and we will have this show downloaded as well, probably on Friday. So right here, our latest Captain Lou Extravaganza. So I invite you to check out Captain Lou's Championship Years in Sports History. Next week, we're going to start a new year. 1997 is what we're going to spotlight. So we're going to have some fun shows on that as well. All right. Thanks to Todd Corder again from ATL Prime Sports joining us, talking a little Stanley Cup and Major League Baseball and whatnot, whatever's going on in the world of sports. And we want to thank you, the viewer, for taking time out tonight to be with us as well. All right. That's going to do it. Join us again next week. We got a busy week coming up next week with Captain Lou's Championship Years in Sports History at 7 o'clock on Tuesday. And then another edition of the Captain Lou Extravaganza right here. Same time next week, next Wednesday, 7 o'clock. That's going to do it for 12 Ounce Sports and the Captain Lou Sports Network and the Captain Lou Extravaganza. Captain Lou saying, keep your heads up, keep your sticks down, keep your feet moving. And as always, keep your minds open. Good night, everybody.